Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Gao Yang, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn a little bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now these 2 days, there is a massive news came out, and it's global news in regards to Australian visa. You probably already noticed from my title and also from what you have learned globally, possibly from Facebook on all the social medias, about the Mr. Djokovic's visa cancellations. So he will not be able to attend the Australian Open. Now let's examine what visa he actually hold and what happened and how he actually relates possibly to you. It's a category of breaching visa conditions by ways of the, obviously everybody knows it's the vaccination or the exemptions, whether or not that will actually go through. And we also learned that everybody probably already know that Mr. Djokovic already lodged an application for appeal to the Federal Circuit Court. Whether or not that's gonna come back with a positive or negative result, we don't know, but let's have a look what happened and what sort of visa is there and what sort of condition was actually embedded in this visa and how that will actually happen. I think that it's a very good case study for a lot of people, although you probably are not an athlete like Mr. Djokovic, but every visa does have their conditions and how that will actually affect you. And perhaps a lot of people start to do international travelings in 2022. You should really watch out for any kind of this kind of stuff because of obviously the pandemic. Anyway, let's have a look. So this has been a very big news around the world. So Novak Djokovic, Australian, cancelled top tennis players visa. Obviously, I believe that everybody have already seen this kind of news. So and the Prime Minister Scott Morrison actually came out and put a support on the Minister of Home Affairs for he believed the right thing to do. But whether or not it's lawful to do, or is it ethical? Well, it's a debacle, and we know that Mr. Djokovic had COVID contracted last year, so he's already recovered. Now, does he still need to get vaccinated? And how will that go? And did he actually provide? We learned from a lot of news articles that he did provide 2 medical statements. But would that actually meet the requirement? Don't know. Especially for a top tennis player, a global tennis player like him. How come his agents or his lawyers did not get this information ahead before travel? That's another question. I mean, is it a lack of management, or is it just being lightly miscalculation, overlooked of the situation? Perhaps we can discuss in there as a forum in this chat room down here. So that's and this is actually the visa category that we are looking at, subclass 40A. And before do that, I'll show you actual what had happened. So obviously, with the procedure wise, Australian government will then, obviously he's no longer a visa holder, so that means he's unlawful, which is very bad. So Mr. Novak Djokovic has been sent to immigration detention. Now, despite of all the social media and news saying that he does have the free will to leave, yes, he does. But do you know the experiences of being putting in immigration detentions? It's actually very bad. It's like a more luxurious jail, in other words. You're not able to actually be contacted by the outside world. Anyway, so this is what's happening. So obviously it has gone very political. Even the Serbian government has actually gone very political in this situation here. You probably already read all this information. So this is our lovely Minister of Home Affairs, Karen Andrews, and you can, there's so many news articles out there talking about it. So let's go into the technical part, which we are familiar with, and I always do this with everybody on the video. So the visa category is actually subclass 408 of the name temporary activity visa. So this visa category, actually, you probably learned this because 408 also contain the government endorsed event for COVID visa category in the first one here. So a lot of people that cannot return back home since 2020 had actually applied for a COVID 408 visa. But this visa does cover all the other one, like special program, religious work, research activity. So people coming into university campuses to do researchers from around the world is actually using subclass 408. Individual social cultural activity, that's more for is related to religion, but sometimes it's cultural. It's more of it's more for Pacific Islanders. They have traditional cultural works or events between the islands and things. Now we are talking about. We also learn about the entertainment activity as well. That's for a lot of celebrities, singers, like movie stars, right? They come into Australia to film movies. They're using this entertainment activity visa. That's subclass 408. But Mr. Novak Djokovic is actually on the temporary activity visa, subclass 408, on the sporting activities one. So this is the right one, the one that can be electronically applied. And it can be up to 2 years, but every time they come in, it's I think it's only eligible for about 3 months of a stay. So the detail of this visa category is here. It's well, if you're an athlete or your friend's athlete, you can have a look. This is actually open for players and also coaches and all the other sporting teams staffs. They will be using this visa to actually enter into Australia. For example, if it's going to be Olympic 2032 in Brisbane, a lot of these athletes and coaches and trainers and all these physio, whatever the team members, they will all be applying for this 408 visa. Although it does say stay up to 2 years, but there's a condition. Generally for athlete or players, they do not need a sponsor because they only coming into an event. It's likely to finish within 3 months, so they probably come in 2 weeks before the event to actually warm up, get ready, adapt to the environment and stuff like that. And then the actual event took place for another 2 weeks, and then rest, blah blah blah, hang around for another week and then leave. So that's within 3 months. But if you're going to be more than 3 months, you will need a sponsor. Who would actually do this one? For example, some athletes or players, they're coming in for long term. For example, they're in some sort of league or in the league for a season that goes for month and month and month, probably half a year. For example, NBL and things like that, or the rugby league and things like that. All the coaches, they hire from overseas, for example, soccer, right? They hire from Europe, for example. They're coming in to train. And that will take month and month and month, perhaps a year. So then they need a sponsor. They need a club, a sporting club, to actually sponsor them. So I'm not going to go into detail of all these who are sport trainees, and this, well, probably it's very easy to understand. Take full-time instruction, training, things like that. But let's go into another part, which is the condition of this 408 visa. This is the one that actually triggers the point that Mr. Djokovic had his visa cancelled. So there are so many conditions, but only one. It's actually the key here is 8301, meet any outstanding public interest criteria. So public interest criteria means if you're a criminal, of course, your visa cancelled. So the public interest criteria here is obviously to be vaccinated. Now, this is the key part that a lot of people, they are having been arguing, and I think that's where Mr. Djokovic believed that he already had that exempt because he had previously got COVID. But obviously there are people argue about, well, but people get COVID, but they get they can they probably can get twice and 3 times, so they still need to get vaccinated. But the argument point here for the health and the medical professionals is that if they already got COVID and recovered, well, are they immunized? So are they immune for the COVID? Are they immune for the new COVID variant? That's a very new topic. Probably no one had actually talked about. Obviously, visa, it's bounded by law. Usually, law is actually slower in reflect to the factual world, and that's exactly what's happened. What happened these 2 days while Mr. Djokovic arrived in Melbourne and got visa cancelled and put into immigration detention center, which I don't believe is the right thing to do. I think there should be more diplomatic negotiation in a way to help Mr. Djokovic out. But I don't know, whether or not that's the right thing to do or not. Probably everybody can leave their comment right down below. So obviously, this thing that triggers the cancellation. Public interest criteria PIC 8301. So let's have a look. Now, this is when you prepare to travel to Australia from overseas. What does the government of Australia actually have publicly notified people here? Obviously, at the top here is for the Australian travel into Australia. We have no problem with that. There's a reduced quarantine requirement. We have no problem with that. I think the key here is this one. Obtain foreign vaccination certificate. Obviously, so Mr. Djokovic had already got COVID last year and recovered. Now, so then he believes he's immune, and in the society nowadays, I'm not too sure. I haven't seen any government telling people to get vaccinated if you already got COVID before and recovered. I haven't seen any actions like this before, so we don't know. Okay, so if you get vaccinated, you get vaccinated, certificate and things like that. So, but we are looking at this one. If you're coming to Australia, let me magnify this. Okay, and then move it into the middle so everybody can read it. Okay, so if you're unable to meet proof vaccination requirement, you will not qualify for full vaccinated traveler. You need to follow current border process of leave and coming to Australia. So that means you still can come. Okay, you still can come. Okay, if you come to Australia unable to be vaccinated for medical reasons. Now, Mr. Djokovic does have that medical reason because he's got COVID last year and recovered. That's a medical reason. So from the news article, I believe he's got 2 doctors already putting into medical statement or certificates saying that was the medical reason that he's not getting vaccinated again. Whether or not that will be agreed by the current immigration officer or the minister or prime minister, perhaps, I don't know. I think that is the actual argue point. So if you got that, you'll get that in Australian immunization register. But I don't think people overseas, offshore, could actually get Australian immunization register. So you can otherwise provide your immunization history statement if you do not have medical contraindication recorded in AIR. There's still a way to go. You will need to show airline staff a medical certificate. This must state unable to be vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine due to medical condition. Now, I believe Mr. Novak Djokovic did that. Well, pretty obvious. If he hadn't done that, the airline staff wouldn't allow him to board the airplane and wouldn't allow him to actually arrive in Melbourne, right? So if you have already done that, then it's the medical certificate. It's either acceptable or not. I think that will be the key arguing point at the Federal Circuit Court. Now, the story is pretty short, but see, the arguing point, it's actually this guy has been diagnosed with the COVID and recovered. So, by public opinion or the government advice, does he require to get vaccinated again with 2 doses? Question mark. Now, if you already got diagnosed and recovered, obviously medical condition already apply, and he has those doctors putting in medical certificates. If not, he probably wouldn't be able to get onto the airplane, correct? Because that's exactly what it says, and arrive at the airport of Melbourne. So the question is whether or not the medical certificate is acceptable. So by ways of cancelling it, it's either the medical certificate is unacceptable. But if it's unacceptable, how can they actually board the plane at the very beginning, right? So anyway, I think that's where the argument, perhaps there are more hidden detail that we have not learned. But anyway, I think it's a very good case to actually share with you and have a bit of learn of the actual visa knowledges of Australia. Sometimes you do see laws, applying law can be done with a very smart decision, but sometimes things can be very, is this a smart? Or perhaps it's not. Maybe you should leave a comment right down below. I'll see you next video. Goodbye.